Thank you. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable members and Secretary and our technical support, our guests or invitees to this session, let me take this opportunity to greet you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and the IAC for giving me this opportunity or trusting me with this important task of facilitating this session. How I wish it was earlier. Earlier in this sense that it's unfortunate that all processes are over. If it was earlier, I was going to mention Honorable members. Honorable members. Can we start now? Let me also welcome Chief Whip of the legislature. Before you came in, I said this opportunity came later. Had it been, it was earlier. I should have mentioned it somewhere that I once facilitated a session of honorable members. Let me acknowledge the apologies for Honorable Speaker of the legislature, Honorable Bese, Honorable Gade. Those are the apologies that are formally submitted to us as IAC. We are about to call the Deputy Speaker to give us. Unfortunately, I'm not going to allow members to debate on these apologies. Let us put hands together for Deputy Speaker to give us the purpose and welcoming of this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Vimbayo, Honorable Chief Whip of our legislature, honorable members, our guests that have been invited to share this platform with us, because this is one of the important gatherings in the history of any term, so that members are not only present, but they are also empowered when we are knocking at the steps of exit, so that each and every member can appreciate the value of being part of the journey of 5 years. Because this will be part of your curriculum vitae. Wherever you go across the length and breadth of the country, in all the institutions that you may be invited to serve, it will always be remembered that you once been a lawmaker in the province of the Eastern Cape. Chairperson, we were requested by the Rules Committee as the members of the Internal Arrangement Committee, of course acknowledging also the Deputy Chief Whip and the Deputy Chair of Committees, that we must converge like this so that we can take our members process by process, procedure by procedure on entry and exit, including the benefits of the members, the issues they're supposed to know and the issues they're supposed to get, and the matters that relates to their remuneration and packages, the issues of taxation, the issues of whatever they would like to do with their monies in case they leave the institution, either after 5 years or even less than 5 years. And such, we will share the platform with even industries that are not necessarily internal. And hence, we've got our guests here so that they can share of what you can do with your monies, with your investments, and so on. We thought, therefore, it is important that we must come, Honorable Chairperson, together like this so that we formalize the launching of the 2023 or the 6th term booklet of this nature, laying the foundation for the next 7th term, that the members that will be taking the occupation of this institution, at least when they arrive, they know exactly what is going to happen after they've taken an oath and swearing in this particular podium, so that there is no confusion about the members' benefits. That's why we extended invitation to institutions like that. Such will be acknowledged, and they will be introduced formally when time is appropriate, but we requested the office of the secretary and the technical team, which they've dispensed that duty very due diligently, that we must try by all means to codify all of these benefits into a booklet so that you can see in cases of injury on duty, in cases of accommodation, services that you're supposed to get as a member, all of those things. But I think, Chairperson, I'm waiting for my presentation. Ndonqena uba ndiqhube ningenayo nina. Because kubalulekile. Oh yes, here it is. I'm representing, of course, as the chairperson of the Internal Arrangement Committee, to present just what is contained here, because we wanted to summarize it so that you can take this booklet, Honorable Chief Whip, back home or be part of your documents. We can go to the next page so that in the introduction,
Recording in progress.
meeting is in progress, it's recorded. The establishment of the South African democratic state leadership is arguable based on two primary anchors. Of course, we all know that it is because of the choice of the public. It is also because of the voice that our people want to have by having public representatives like us sitting here, because we represent the larger community of 7.5 or 6.5, now is 7.2 million citizens of the province of the Eastern Cape. Therefore, this means that through elections, South Africans have been guaranteed a right to make their choice with respect to public policy trajectory the country takes, which should invariably guarantee them the second tenet of democracy, which is important, called a voice. We represent that voice of our people here, and therefore we must be here because through that process we represent them. The voice is demonstrated in part by representation of the public by politicians voted into positions in the legislature, and hence 63 members were invited for this workshop. And these voted public representatives should, in essence, beyond representing views of the public, also encourage public participation in legislative processes as provided for by Section 118, subsection 1A and B of the South African Constitution. And that is why, and that is the mandate that we are here to execute. So many people are asking, what are they doing? But the truth of the matter is that the Constitution demands that we must be here to do and execute, especially this constitutional responsibility. And elections and public representations are therefore, in part, important mechanism, ladies and gentlemen, honored members, through which the choice and the voice find an expression in the South African context, and they, in turn, translate into several rights, including right to access to services. We are here to ensure that from this booklet, we've got a duty to perform. From the benefits that we are receiving, there is a duty to be performed. From whatever we are here to do, but that is also a duty, access to services delivered by the state, financed through public funds, but within the legislative framework. And this particular right links directly to the realization of socio-economic livelihood through public services. And in addition, it is within the right of social and political accountability, which is defined and embedded. And this effectively entails accountability of those in control of public resources for services rendered or not rendered to those who put, I think, us in the position of control, and to ensure that we conduct that oversight. That is why we are here. So I think the expression of social and political accountability therefore requires participation in oversight visits, which we suppose as this particular committee to ensure that the comfort of the members is because they have to deliver these kinds of oversight visits, the committee meetings, the house sittings, conducting of public hearings, facilitating public participation as part of public representation. And that is why this committee has been designed specifically in internal arrangement to ensure all of those things, the claims of the members, the livelihood of the members, their accommodation must always be to ensure that they do execute this task, not burdened by some of these issues. And therefore, the Constitution, powers, privileges, immunities of Parliament, as well as Provincial Legislatures Act, are the provisions that give us that kind of accountability. Therefore, enabling environment, which we are going to speak about, Program 2, enabling facilities for members and political parties that include Remuneration of Public Office Bearers Act, for which there is a body that governs that act, the Party Political Funding Act. All of those things we have to consider. And the second part that is dealing with this presentation for today will be the handbook introduced as a guide to existing and incoming members of the provincial legislature on areas relating to their on-board or in-statement remuneration, facilities and benefits they are entitled to. Guide is largely based on the legislative and policy provisions and legal opinions, precedents, and the best practice in South African legislative sector. We are not doing something that is outside the scope and mandate of other legislatures, including National Parliament and NCOP. Though we may seem to be better honored members, I must indicate that umuntu osuka apha provincial legislature, the culture national is totally different. I mean, you feel that you are no more in the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature because of the things that we offer that are not even closer to what you are going to be given if you are at national level. So these are the things that we want members that will be elected in the next term to understand, that some of the offerings that we do at this level are totally not available, Chief Whip, in other areas. I'm telling you the truth. But there are some, they exceedingly doing well than us in this province. And the guide is largely based on the legislative and policy provisions, legal opinion, or I've read that, designed to inform a response to challenges experienced with differing expectations of members of the provincial legislature, ambiguities in roles and responsibility of different function areas of the institution and external stakeholders. And I think this guide will also provide guidelines on the provision of benefits, Honorable Chairperson, tools of trade, allowances, administrative support services by the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislatures. Xa bendibuza kwi-member phaa ku-national uba mangaphi amatikiti e-flights eninawo ngonyaka as a member, wathi 88. Daddy, huh? 88, one member per annum. Kuyahajwa. Awethu ayi-12, akhangabi namali, ayi-12. But we are here we are going to explain some of those things. But those are the things that to provide members of the legislature with consolidated packages or package of information and easy access to a wide variety of topics that are aimed at assisting them during their tenure as members. And I think we've agreed as members of the AIC that we must provide that guidance. Of course, Honorable Chief Whip, there is a date to arrive here, which we call entrance, when everybody is coming from wherever, but there is a date of arrival. Once it is pronounced by the IEC that we receive these percentages, Eastern Cape, then there will be allocation to populate these seats that are 63. We're still planning, Chief Whip, how to include the other chairs and additional desk to remanage the sitting here. Now that there is a proposal from the IEC that we may increase the number to 72, then the technical team under the capable hand of the clerk of the table, which is the secretary, we are working on reformulation of the sitting order so that when new members are coming, there is no qualms about that reality. Then regulated by the policy on exit and entrance. This is where we decided to start as the members of the entire arrangement. Remuneration and benefits. Of course, the day you are signing the certificate here is the day the system confirms you that you are present. It's the day the computation of your money is going to be fully realized. It's the day your pension is going to be fully actualized. And it's the day that you must plan your exit when you enter. One term. We are appointed for 5 years. And nothing else. I think this is why we invited you. When are we disappointed? Is it on the date of election, midnight? Then can you say, I'm resigning on that date so that you can claim your pension and transfer it to other provident funds and so on? These members are supposed to work and walk us through those particular realities. An inclusive remuneration package that can be structured as follows. Sorry for typo there. I think, honorable members, 60% basic pensionable salary, including 120,000 a year or a 10,000 a month allowance for travel and entertainment for constituency work. You can see that in your own slip. That 10,000 is always there to ensure that you continue with the work that you are designated to do in your constituency. And that is one of the areas that can be explained by various institutions that were invited today. Employers' pension benefit contribution equaling to 22.5% of pensionable salary, and a flexible portion, which is the remaining amount that can be structured by a member. It is therefore important to indicate, honorable members, choice to spread the package either over 12 to 13 months, and whether tax on the 13th salary is spread over 12 months period or payable in the month of salary paid. That is the option that a member is having. The second thing that we felt it's important to highlight, though it is explained in the booklet, is the question of accommodation. New members are entitled in the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, honorable members, to be housed in a hotel or a guest house at the legislature's costs until an official house has been allocated to that member. That is what it's supposed to be. A new member will only be entitled, underline, will only be entitled to stay in the hotel or a guest house at the legislature cost until 1 week after the member has been informed in writing by the Deputy Speaker which house has been allocated to that member, and if the house is vacant and suitable for accommodation. Therefore, there's an expectation that when we leave, the house must be inhabitable for a new member to occupy. A member who has been allocated an official house must enter into a lease agreement with the Department of Public Works at a rental or condition determined by the department. We don't own a single house or property as the legislature, except this house and the land around, but it belongs to Public Works. As hence a member is advised to enter into a lease agreement with that department because that's a parent department for all assets of the state. A member who has been allocated an official house, of course, is reminded to think about that. And where official houses are not ready for occupation, the department, therefore responsible for Public Works, must provide alternative accommodation for the member. Ukuba ayilo lethu ityala lokokuba imember engabi nandlu, uxanduva lokuhlawulwa kwendlu imember ehlala kuyo nendawo okanye azawuhlalisa kuyo xa indlu ingekho ready mayibe lika Public Works uba nguye umuntu obefana uba uthi sawufika apha athi nasi izindlu ze-members, they are 63 if members are 63. Then members can join an opt-out process of saying, I do have my house, I don't need it, and all of that. So the state shall not be liable for any damage or loss of personal effects in the state-owned residence, regardless of whether the residence is occupied or not. The relocation costs are payable, honorable members, on the basis of supply chain management protocols of Tree Code system. Relocation costs. I think even the technical team will back us here. There were members who requested to be assisted in this process. On the medical aid, we thought as the members of the AIC, all members must belong according to the law, must belong to Permanent Medical Scheme in terms of Parliamentary and Medical Aid Scheme Act of 1975 as amended. In the event that a resolution is taken and passed by the House on permanent membership by all members, kuyanyanzeleka ukuba siyazise iParliament elandelayo into okokuba ngokomthetho ka-1975 amalungu endlowisomthetho kufaneleke into okuba abhilonge kwi-medical aid, but there must be a House what? Resolution. That must be passed to effect that particular legislation. The legislature shall make provisions to indemnify itself from liability, loss, claim, charges, or any such action with financial or other implications as a result of a member not subscribing to a medical aid scheme. That's why we always advise members, if you don't opt for this that is legislated, but belong to a medical aid, because we will therefore not be liable, because a member is advised timeously, and especially when there is a resolution taken by the House. Then, on the Public Office Bearers Pension Fund leadership, these are the things that we decided to come together like this. All members belong to the Public Office Bearers Pension Fund in terms of Section 8, subsection 1 of the Public Office Bearers Pension Fund Act of 1998. Njengoba sihleli apha nje, we belong into that pension fund. Provisions and applicable rules of the fund, Honorable Chair, shall be observed at all times, and members are encouraged to familiarize themselves with the rules and provisions through regular updates on the pension fund website. We decided to provide this website. I wasn't aware that I can only check myself how much I've accumulated over the period of my appointment to serve in this House. So members themselves, through their IDs, can also log in and check how much and what is happening in their pensions. And members can also register their profiles on the website to be able to monitor their pension benefits and services available to them. You can't wait for a member, even at your house, at your pleasure, at your home. You can just log in, check, and walk through and ask questions and so forth. That website is giving us now that opportunity. Associated benefits, honored members, that we wanted to convey as the committee to this workshop: funeral cover, temporal disability cover, income replacement cover. These are the things that we thought it's important that members must understand and know. That all members must complete beneficiary nomination forms to identify persons to receive funeral and pension benefits in the instance of death of a member. Akho nto ibuhlungu njengezisiqhelo uzibona thina seva kulaa komiti. Ubona uba xa kwenzeke into kunyuka kusehliwe ekhayeni, kuhanjwa ngezitulo. Ke kufika umuntu ongakhange agalelwe nenyongo, abe sesithi nam ndilapha, engakawazi namasiko alo mzi, seyime entla, kodwa into sizenze ngokucwangco nangexesha. Mlo appointe nje umuntu ozawuthi ndawungabikho akwazi usincedisa ekubeni izinto zam zingalahleki. And hence these teams are here to also indicate about will. It's important that xa ndilapha nam ndine will ngoku endiye ndaqonda uba mandizithethe izinto kwelaa xesha le-COVID noba bendingathandi, andazi uba ndawuphuncuka nini kweli phakade. Ndabiza umfazi ndathi into zam zimi ngolu hlobo, andabilayo nix emva koko. Wamane ndijonga uba indlela ome ngayo ayikho right. All members, therefore, honorable leadership, males and females. Isibengalityala lethu lodwa eli longafuna uchaza. Failure to have nominated, please underline and underscore this part. Failure to have nominated beneficiary will result in the funeral benefits being deposited into the estate account of the deceased member. Siyayazi kuba yawufika pha imicimbi ithatha ixesha elingakanani. And if you are receiving a disability income, you will still qualify for this funeral insurance up to earliest of the what? Termination date. And bon gauklege apa in the city le kuba nyusa but. Usekhona lo muntu nyusa? Aphela ngolo hlobo. All right. I've passed accommodation. I think we were at the associated benefits, ne? If you are receiving a disability income or income benefit, you will still be qualified for the funeral insurance cover up to the earliest of the termination date. Your 65th birthday or your early retirement, whichever is sooner. I think there is an expression that we must get a video according to my presentation here. Are you ready there? Tell me in the advancing. Or then she will come. Let's go to the next page, because this is how to register, Loan. The next thing is a group life insurance leadership. Let's go to that page. New members will automatically be added to the group life insurance policy maintained by the legislature. This is what this legislature is also doing. Members are part of that group life insurance, as you are sitting here. This benefit ends on the date that a member ceases to be the member of the provincial legislature, and or a non-returning member ceases to be the member at the end of the political term, and or a member reaches the age of 65. This is what that particular group insurance is indicating. The scheme benefits. We decided also to highlight what are the benefits of that particular scheme, which is death benefit, multiple of salary, 5 times annual salary for all members. Accidental death cover is 100% of the death benefit, subject to a maximum of 3 million. I suppose this is 3 million. La cover will cover you 100%. Ingxaki umuntu ufaka kube kanye. Ube ubona uphinde uthi balulu. Ifike sayipha ibhankeni 3 million ubona ukuphinde uhlale. Honored members, let me come to cell phone, because this is another matter. In members, as Manes Bose, I think our technical team will be able to back us during the discussion period. Members entering the legislature will be provided with a cell phone as part of the contract entered into by the legislature with a suitable network service provider. The maintenance of the contract will be at the cost of the legislature and on terms agreed upon between the legislature and the service provider. The legislature will be responsible for payment of non-returning members' cell phone cost until the declaration of election results, after which a non-returning member may continue with the cell phone contract at his or her own cost. Provision, you can make an arrangement to keep that number even if you are not returning, but phone up until the date of declaration by the IEC. When it comes to laptop computers, members entering the legislature will also be provided with laptop, and during the service of a member in any political term and at a point of upgrading the computer equipment, a member may purchase the laptop computer by paying the amount of its worth as determined by the legislature policy on asset management, or authorize the legislature to deduct the amount from the member's next payable salary. You've got an option to say, I'm buying it on the determined price by the policy of disposal, I believe, or you can say, well, just deduct it from my next payable salary, then you keep the gadget with you. The internet access. Each member is entitled to have internet access in their offices, as well as data allowance with usage limits determined by the terms of the contract entered into by the legislature and a network service provider. It's not a contract, it's a contract, I believe. That is what we suppose to enjoy as the benefit as these members. The access cards. Access cards must be provided to new members during the induction and orientation workshop for new members. The service is facilitated by Security Services Unit of the legislature to identify members as such as point of entry, which is the main gate of the legislature precinct. This is in line with the protocols to manage the access to the legislature, as we all know that this is a national key point. Under normal circumstances, befanwa iminwe yethu iyakwazi uzivula passages ze-offices eschools so that it records who entered, who left last, and who arrived earlier, just to control and manage the access in the institution. Asikafiki ke kulo migangatho, but now that we are developing a single automation system through the system that is being implemented, sizawude sifike kumacango oluvula ngesitshixo sakho uthi njengendawo zonke ekudlula kuso if you are a member of this legislature at least. The library services, honored members, access cards must be provided to new members during the induction or rotation workshop for new member. The service is facilitated by the Security Services Unit of the legislature to identify members as such as a point of entry as indicated above. This is in line with the protocols, of course, of a national key point. Let's move. Academic development. The moment you are taking an oath of being a member of this legislature, you qualify to be assisted in terms of human skills development, because this is an institution that is dynamic, whose function and purposes exist to develop laws, oversight. Therefore, there must be a level of competencies, qualifications, and knowledge that must be sourced for members. Therefore, the legislature has a bursary policy for members of the legislature to assist their academic and as well as human resource development trajectory. I-members nalo ke ilungelo lokokuba ziparticipate kule program. At the commencement, when it comes to induction and orientation, at the commencement of each term, the legislature must host an induction and orientation workshop for all new and returning members. Because zingangafani mhlawumbe izinto going forward. We used to be 63, we may be 73. It therefore means there will be changes in the floorboard of this institution, so that you know where you are sitting. Members can be taken and be orientated that we may change either these cubicles to be now fully occupied by members, and we are going to take HODs to another area if this house is increasing by 9 members, 2024. So the role of an MPL, I think we all know that management of absence from the legislature is being managed in a manner prescribed by policy. Members' special leave, including maternity and family responsibility, as well as administrative support. Issues of traveling and accommodation are all explained in the booklet. Official and unofficial travel, honored members, travel claims, accommodation, airport parking, and all travel of members is regulated by the travel policy for the members of the provincial legislature adopted by the legislature. That is also explained. We've got dining room services or dining room facility because we work in this institution. And amaxesha esisebenza ngawo awanofana namaxesha i-public service eqhuba ngayo. Therefore, we need to have those kinds of facilities in the same environment. The legislature provides for such dining room where members can have their own meals at a subsidized amount. And I think during the course of discussion, if there will be an interest, maybe it's well explained also in the book how that works. Bereavement. We all know that we are human. We've got blood and flesh. There are days and times that are determined by thee, God, of when we are going to really exit the system of breathing in this earth. Then all support and or contribution by the legislature to affected families in the instance of death of a serving member, their immediate family, and or a former member of the provincial legislature will be guided by the adopted policy on the bereavement and family arrangement for the serving or a former member or former members, including travel claims for such situations. In this booklet, we decided to put that thing together so that you know about how far we've go and what are the amounts of that kind of work. The institutional decision-making, the roles and protocol of various positions will always be explained as they are explained in the booklet. The portfolio, the ad hoc, standing committees, what's the difference between those? If one says, I'm in the portfolio of this and that, I'm serving in the standing committee of this and that, but I'm also part of the ad hoc committee of this and that. Those are the issues, freedom of speech and privileges of members that are sitting here. You must know that when you are speaking inside this chamber, you know what are your rights immediately, and what are the issues of code of ethics, code of dressing, facilities of members with special needs. Nobody knows. what kind of the cohort of members that are coming, but we need to be much more ready in preparing this environment to be conducive for those that are disabled, for those that are deaf, for those that are blind, so that we are almost in an advanced stage now that these laws have been passed by our national parliament. Transfers to political parties, exit of members, and end of term conference. As we are doing this, Honorable Chief Whip, we are also preparing for the end of term conference, where members of the executive and us here, we will be together to say this is the report of the term as we see it as the legislature, so that those that are coming may not say, yeah man, we will cover it with a ribbon and hand it over to the next term. Next page. Yes, the purpose, I'm coming now to the presiding officers, because there is no institution without those particular members. The purpose of this also is to provide guidance and guidelines on the provision of benefit tools and allowances for that. The arrangement relating to swearing in and taking of oath, benefits, reimbursement, allowances, and other provisions, security detail of those members that will occupy that particular level of authority. International travel, we've got an experience now, the recent trip of Money Bills Committee and CPA, CWP, all of those things are giving us an experience of what is expected when we arrive in these particular countries. What kinds of exchange benefits that delegations that are living supposed to have, especially the leader of delegation supposed to know exactly that you are given 1, 2, 3, because you represent the institution of legislature. And the security detail, the official motor transport arrangement, the air travel and the train transport. There are countries that better you use your train, for instance. So when all of those processes are being made, all as such facilitated, political office staff, determination, reception and functions, relinquishing of office. Those are the things that this particular guide is providing presiding officers. Let's go to the next page. And I think it also contains a directory with contact details of both relevant internal and external stakeholders. This is what is being contained in the booklet. And the booklet must also be used by members on the basis for inputs, which we believe you can also improve it, suggestions, amendments, to be able to present it as a complete refined product by the end of term. We are just presenting here so that we can have a black and white detailed document, but we can still improve where we see weaknesses. We can still strengthen it by our suggestions and inputs. Next page. Next page is me now. I think, honored members, the handbook and the guide to support for the presiding officers contain important information also relating to applicable policies to members of the provincial legislature. It is the expectation that the members of the executive are the ones that are supposed to be well accustomed, well clued up about all these provisions, because they suppose when they are sitting to ensure that there is no complaint, members are well served, the committee of interarrangement is there to facilitate and oversight that at least at this particular purpose function, members are able to do their work untroubled. That in the olali EP, hotel siyakuyo EP, imoto esihamba ngayo EP, is the area secured, and phones that ziyasebenza and so on. Normally, members must never be troubled by those things. And the guider and the protector of the members in this case is this committee. But the implementers and ensurers that this thing happen will be the members of the executive. Also contain a directory with contact details of both relevant internal and external holders. We suggested that makube numbers that are included. In case you experience this, just dial this particular person so that you get a feedback quickly. And the booklet must be used by members on the basis of input as it was contained here. And I think, honored members, we decided to summarize that presentation that represent this booklet in that particular fashion. So I think, Chairperson, that is the welcoming as well as the input, trying to summarize exactly the purpose of this session, that we are presenting as the Interarrangement Committee this booklet as a guide to honorable members so that we can fatten it, because we believe we are not the only people with wisdom to ensure that we give support and due credit to the members of this important honorable house. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. As we can see, he covered all the three items. Before calling cyber security, let me first acknowledge the presence of Mr. A. Jackson, accompanied by Mr. Justin Carter from Sanlam. Justin J. The item on cyber security presentation will be done in Microsoft SA. No warm body is present here. Then the group risk insurance and wealth management is not yet arrived. We'll acknowledge them when they are here. Miss Ntwana from Public Works will only arrive at the time of presentation. They are busy preparing for the funeral of the Archbishop. Nganca Lord. Police. Bishop Nganca. Okay. After the program, members, Alexander Forbes is outside the Yekile Lefan. Alexander Forbes is outside, represented by Mr. Bam. Members are allowed after the program, not now, to go and check ubaba menjani imicimbi yabo iphanga phandle. Bavumelekile ku one-on-one. Now we are on the presentation on cyber security. Izakwenziwa on Microsoft Virtual. Are you ready? Okay.
Good day, everyone.
Let's welcome.
I am going to present.
Yes, let's welcome them. Stella guess is
Good. Good morning, everyone. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Maybe a thumbs up or just someone on the chat.
Yes, we can see the screen and we can hear you. You can start.
Thank you very much. Good morning again. So my name is Dominique Dusabezu. I'm a cybersecurity architect with Microsoft. I work with a team called the Cyber Ops and Resilience team. We are basically under the umbrella of Microsoft Security. My background is in incident response and compromise recovery. I've been doing that for the past 12 years. Basically what we do, we help customers that are basically going through incidents and breaches to contain, to analyze, and obviously eventually to recover, and also help them with modernization and transformation. My talk is not really around incident response. It's mostly around, digital transformation and what it means from a security perspective. And that is what I will be presenting today. So to start off, yes?
You just need to share your presentation. Apologies.
It is, I'm sharing currently.
You can't see it.
How about now?
Yes, we can see your
Yes.
presentation now.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry for that. Good. So security has never been more critical, and simply because I think with time, we've been adding more and more devices and technologies and solutions within our environment. And what this simply means is that, to every device or whatever solution that you're introducing from a personal capacity at home, it could be a bulb. I mean, we have Wi-Fi bulbs that are connected to the Wi-Fi. We have sound systems that are connected to the Wi-Fi. What that does, it basically introduces a vulnerability, however possible. So we don't know this, but this is what it is. The moment you're connected to the internet, you are exposed, simply because every solution needs an update and can potentially have a vulnerability. So in the greater scheme of things, that's why cyber attacks are becoming more frequent and sophisticated, simply because also, we tend to buy solutions that will help us to make certain things simpler, but we forget to put the right controls in place to protect ourselves. And the more solutions you have, and the bigger what we call the attack surface becomes. And obviously, to make it even more complex, the regulatory landscape also has become more and more complex. And I'll give you a simple example here in South Africa. With data protection and governance, you have the POPIA Act that we need to all abide to, right? There is 8 principles that are quite critical, and every organization technically needs to try and be compliant towards that. And that simply means having to introduce new technologies. But the technology side is actually the easy part. You need to update your strategy. You need to put in place new policies. And to that, it will translate into controls that you will apply via the solutions that you're putting. So there's massive changes that are happening worldwide, and all of that is happening rapidly. And many times what we see with many of our customers is that the time to actually onboard and align to these new changes is actually very small. So many people end up having solutions that are not secure enough and end up being compromised. This is really a slide to express that boom of devices and solutions and so forth, and interconnected solution. So you will see, again, from a personal perspective, from an organizational perspective, you have at home, you have TVs that are now connecting to the internet, right? You have, again, I've said the Wi-Fi bulbs. You have speakers. You can call it whatever, right? And then at work, you're now starting to move to the cloud. So you have a hybrid state where you have some identities that are living within your premises, and then you have identities that are living in the cloud. And this is just to allow you to start leveraging these great technologies that are happening. But behind all of that, it is important to put strict and stringent baselines, because other than that, there's people out there for a living that sit there and that are crawling the internet to find a way to compromise your identity or your organization. And how they do it, some are very, very determined, and this is from a nation state perspective, and some are just what we call script kiddies. They're just having fun trying to break into the environment. Now, moving to some statistics, it's very important to elevate this pitch of cybersecurity, because I think it needs to become a board discussion. The global cost of cybercrime is estimated to reach $10.5 trillion annually, and this is by 2025. And that just shows how important this is going to be, because the cost of implementing the solution cannot outweigh the cost of the breach. And that's why the number is increasing. It's a 31% increase in cyber attacks in the past year. I think we've all seen in the news, I'm not going to do any names or attribution, but we've all seen in the news that there is more and more articles that are coming out, more and more media briefings around companies that are being compromised. And some of these companies are actually holding the data of the population. And that makes it even more complicated, because that data is available out in the wild. From Microsoft's perspective, phishing attacks have increased by 250% since the beginning of COVID-19. Why has that been a huge number? COVID-19 forced us to go and work remotely. Not that it is a problem. It relates to the fact that we needed to adopt solutions rapidly, and rapidly meant not doing it in a secure fashion. And that's why the numbers have increased considerably. So again, there is a certain amount of effort that is required to model how the solution will work within your environment and not introduce additional vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, COVID hit us like a storm, and everybody had to go home, and we had to find ways to work together using those solutions, but we really forgot how to protect those solutions and put the correct baselines. And this is why these numbers are quite high. What to watch out for? Again, I'm talking from both perspectives, privately, from a corporate perspective, phishing scam, trying to steal your identity or money. There is a common denominator here. It's your identity. If I'm able to steal your identity, I'm able to become you technically. I can compromise your bank account if I'm able to get into if I'm able to get into your account. And what we see many times is that people reuse the same password across multiple platforms, right? I can defamate some of your information, and then get onto your Facebook account or your LinkedIn account. I can get into your work or corporate environment simply because I've already compromised one account that is the same as the password that is the same as what you use at work. So it is really, really important to leverage all of these solutions from an identity protection perspective, right? I know we all have access to our bank accounts, and by the way, you will see that the banks always try to be, ahead of time. They will try and propose what we call multi-factor authentication. Before you log onto your account, can you please accept this message on the phone, or through an authenticator app? It will send you an SMS to put an OTP. That sort of control needs to happen across board, not just from a private perspective, but we need to ensure that that very first authentication needs to be protected. And that is quite critical, because what it means is that if someone is trying to get into your account, be it private or corporate, they need to have your phone, or they need to have access to your SIM card, or they need to have access to that particular SMS and so forth. Now, I'm sure we've all heard about ransomware attacks, and some of them are channeled actually via the fact that I can steal your identity and therefore, propagate some malicious, what we call payloads within your environment, and then hold you hostage for extortion. It's becoming more and more prevalent in a sense where, they will compromise your data, they will encrypt your data, and they will ask you for money. And usually, even if you pay, you don't get anything back. So we will talk about some of the efforts that needs to be done from a recovery and backup, so that you know that if anything happens, what is your mean time to actually be ready to recover all of the data that has been encrypted. And then you also have fraudulent sites. People are becoming more and more gullible as well, as I can create a site that looks exactly, for example, like the FNB site, and then tell you to log in there. And because you're in a rush, you actually do not pay attention to the details. And sometimes you will enter your credentials there, and only later on you will realize that you're actually entering the wrong details. You're entering your details in the wrong site. These are the type of things that malicious actors are trying to capitalize on. And what this simply means is, they do it across tons and tons of people, millions of people, and really they are hoping that only one person gets it wrong. Only one person. This is from a corporate perspective, is that if I can get a foothold into your organization, that's already a good win because I am inside, right? From a private perspective, if I got access to your account, it's game over, right? And obviously, scams can be avoided. You need to pay serious attention to where you're entering your credentials, what you're registering to, site that you're visiting, Sometimes there are things that you actually can't see. Sometimes you visit a site and something gets downloaded in the background. And, all of that has a particular nefarious effect on your device, but you're not seeing that, right? So it is very important to be vigilant and not fall for this sort of scam. So responsibility and security control, particularly for the public sector, right? Use strong authentication mechanism. My job here is not to scare you. It is just to speak realistically about what is happening out in the world from my experience. If you're only using a username and password, it is not good enough. As I said, many people will tend to use the same password. And if you think about it, for example, a few years ago, Yahoo was compromised. If that password was leaked and is sitting somewhere in the dark web or on the internet, and someone gets that password and you've never changed your password or you've used a combination of that password, there is a high chance that that password can be reused against you, right? So that's why it is important to use an additional factor, like what the banks are doing. And usually the banks don't really ask us about our opinions. They just get it done, right? Simply because they understand the risk. So this is, from our perspective, we call it what we call the first line of defense, strong authentication mechanism. Don't share your personal information online. Try and keep your profile, your online identity as small as possible, right? Be careful when you click or you download an attachment. Again, from a personal perspective, at work on your device, just always be vigilant and just make sure that you're receiving the mail from the rightful sender and that the integrity is high. Keep your software up to date. This is a very critical one in a sense where if your software is not up to date, your vulnerabilities from an organization perspective are publicly known. So we publish these vulnerabilities out there, and that's why we patch. And we shouldn't even look at it from one organization or one service provider. Vulnerabilities are everywhere. Microsoft, Oracle, anything, name it, every software needs to be patched because that vulnerability can be used against you. And the process to actually exploit it may actually have been already documented on YouTube. So not patching it exposes your organization further. Implement robust security measures. We're talking here about security baseline. It's a policy. It's more of an administrative work, agreeing on what will be the baseline and ensuring that all your environment is compliant. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Train your employees on best practices. Until then it happens to you, then you realize the importance of it. So to avoid that, quarterly sort of awareness email to just tell people about the risks behind, everything around this cybersecurity issues that are happening now, to be vigilant, to understand that you need to read clearly your emails that are being sent to you. Don't click on links that you're not sure of. Rather send it to IT to review the destination of that particular link if you're not sure of it. It's always best. Data encryption. Look, data encryption, it's a good one in a sense where, POPIA requires that. So we are all technically empowered to do it, otherwise we'll pay fines. And what this simply means is that from an organization perspective is what they want you to achieve with encrypting is that even if someone was to exfiltrate your data, they wouldn't be able to consume the data. And that's why it is so important. And obviously, user access and activity monitoring is very important. I'm sure we've all engaged with the Auditor General and so forth. And these are the type of things they're looking for, right? Being able to go back in time and say, XYZ has done XYZ, right? And obviously, again, I think I repeated this because this is very close to my heart. Software is up to date and patched regularly. I'll give you again a scenario here with many of the organizations that we've worked with. Some of the entry points to their issues were a software that was not patched or a solution that was exposed on the internet and it was not patched. So we need to really, really work hard to try and overcome this. I cannot finish my presentation without talking about AI and machine learning, simply because it is taking us 100 steps ahead. What this simply means is AI is bringing a breath of fresh air and rapidity in responding to some of the issues that we have now. So it will give you, for example, with the solutions that you buy nowadays, again, I'm not going to speak about any vendor or whatsoever, you will see that because of the advent of AI, it is able to analyze telemetry that is huge in very, very rapid fashion. So real-time threat detection and response. AI also can sometimes mitigate some of the skills gap because you're able to ask the AI about, for example, look, there is an incident. What can I do to mitigate this quickly? How far or how deep is this incident within my organization? You're able to talk back to this solution that will give you an elaborate remediation plan. We are seeing that with ChatGPT. Now, please bear in mind that all the answers that are coming out there are not 100% correct. So there is still a certain level of, questioning that needs to happen when you get an answer from an AI, because it's trained, it is learning, and it's getting better by the day, but it's not 100% correct. Machine learning can improve accuracy also on your threat detection and reduce false positives. Sometimes, there is an administrator that wants to do some work, and it may look like a malicious activity, but it is not, right? So we need to kind of delimitate the two. And obviously, before I finish, we have technology, which we call extended detection and response, which looks at multiple pillars of security. What I mean by that is, when you think about the key critical 4 pillars in cybersecurity, we're talking about your identity, which is actually one of the most important one because it connects to everything. It is your devices, it is the applications that you're leveraging, and the data that you're consuming. These are the 4 pillars. Once you're able to address all the 4 with the right controls and in an integrated fashion, you have already made great strides in putting the minimum security controls within your organization. So AI is there to be. AI is something that we will need to embrace. And before I finish, this presentation was done with AI. We have a new technology called Copilot. Not that I'm trying to put it out there. You can do it with many other technologies. But this 6 slides that you have here were created within 37 minutes and curated by myself. And that's the power of AI. In a conclusion, cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. Again, being at home, privately, corporate, it is something that is going to grow bounds and bounds, and it is something that we need to all take seriously for our own sake and for the sake of the organizations that we're working with and for the population that we are serving. Be aware of common scams, take the necessary precautions. You've made investments in certain technologies. Let's make sure we leverage them to the best of their capabilities. And obviously, it is also our own, users and organizations have a responsibility to protect themselves. Awareness is very important. Technology cannot do everything itself. In fact, if the awareness is done adequately, what this simply means is that there will be less incidents and less alerts. So if we can get the human factor addressed, we are going to reduce the burden on the technology to actually respond to all these alerts that are popping up in our dashboard as security engineers and architects. And that's it from my side. I'd like to thank you again for giving me this opportunity. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to have a chat or discuss this further, and I'll be happy to assist going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you. Honorable members, that's the presentation on cyber security. We are now on discussions, of which those discussions covers the presentation by Honorable Deputy Speaker and this presentation on cyber security. Mandinikezele kuni, I will identify hands. Honorable Benjamin, number 1. Honorable Makubela, Honorable Kasim. Any other hand? Honorable Chief Whip. Over to you, Honorable Benji.
Hi, thank you very much. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to the honorable members and our visitors. I won't take long, but there's three things that I've noted that I would want to speak on. The group insurance specifically, even if you are still here at the age of 65, it ends. If that is correct that I'm hearing, then I just want to know what happens then if the member is still here. Then, when it comes to accommodation and facilities of members, I don't even know where to start. I'll use just one item in my house. The machines are broken. The curtains has never been washed. I'm there for 5 years. The two doors are not working, both of one front door and the back door. And I can continue. I've reported it on I don't know how many platforms. So there's a lack and a gap. That's what I want to bring to the attention of the facilities and the accommodations of members when it comes to them being able to stay in a place which you would want to stay as if you would stay at home. I'm not even talking other things. I'm talking very serious things. The break-ins, it's becoming more within some of the areas. I know in some houses now there's securities, but there's a serious issue with the safety and security when it comes to the break-ins in those houses. The cybersecurity, it's a real issue because some of us are really at a very exposed position when it comes to these new gadgets and things that we are using, and also that we are forced to be on the platforms for so many meetings and that. So I think a more in-depth issue when it comes to the cybersecurity of all of us must be looked in. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to you and all honorable members. Let me welcome the presentations. Now that Chair, you are saying Honorable Benji must keep the question for Public Works. Let me also keep mine for Public Works. I'll raise it when they are here. Then Chair, coming to, I think I'm also covered regarding the issue of pensions when it comes to the 65 years issue. Then coming to the issue of medical aid, Chair, permit, Chairperson, if my memory serves me well, we took a resolution that as the Eastern Cape Legislature, we are not going to implement the imposed decision by the National Assembly in respect of the permit. And as a result, we also change from permit and implement the resolution that was taken by the East Cape Legislature when we were at Port Alfred after presentation that was made by various medical aid companies.
My question, ke Chair, I just want to know, in fact, I'm asking for the 7th administration. If this issue of permit is still applicable to the Eastern Cape Legislature, or is just a choice for the members to join it, as it is supposed to be like that, so that Chair, when we are doing a proper handover to the 7th administration, this matter is clearly defined. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makubela. Honorable Kasim.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Chair, I've been tasked by our Interim Chief Whip, Marshal van Buchenrode, to raise a few issues in his absence, and I hope that it will be noted. I think the first issue, Honourable Chair, has been covered by Honourable Makubela. From what I've been told, there was a motion by the Honourable Dimaza on this issue of permit, and that is a resolution of the House that members of the Eastern Cape Legislature are not forced to be members of Parliament, whereas this handbook states that members must be members of Parliament, and if we can please have that clarified both here and in the handbook that has been presented. The second issue, Honourable Chair, is the issue of tools of trade for members of the legislature. From the inputs that we've received by our Interim Chief Whip, there's a policy that exists within the legislature with respect to the period of time, intervals at which these tools of trades need to be replaced. So for example, a cell phone would need to be replaced every 12 months, and a laptop would need to be replaced every 2.5 years. Now, that hasn't been exercised recently to such an extent that political parties have had to assist their own members in this respect in order to ensure that they have tools of trade that can assist them with their duties on a daily basis. And that needs to be clarified in this handbook, Chair. What is the intervals, as per the policy of the legislature, as to how soon, since the last issuing of such tool of trade, does the next one need to be issued? There are, for example, members now that have gone over 2 years, or close to 2 years, since receiving a cell phone, and it has now been the entire term since receiving a laptop. The only one laptop that was received at the beginning of the term, those HP ones that disengage. Some people have received, some have not. There are staff members in the legislature that have received, where members have not received those tools of trade. So this is a very serious issue that needs to be addressed in the handbook, so that it's very specific as to what is the time interval that these tools are made available to members. The last issue, Chair, and it was touched on by Honourable Benjamin, is the issue of accommodation. Now, it does say on page 7 that the house should be vacant and suitable for accommodation for a member to be forced to take, or for the member to take possession of that house. I must tell you, Chair, that when I entered this legislature, I got a shock of my life.
Honorable Kasim, I'm sorry, can you also pack that?
Okay.
So that when we are engaging, I understand why you are engaging on the booklet, but the issues that relates to public works and accommodation,
That's fine.
that public works is going to be here. Let's pack that so that when public works, after our public works presentation, we can raise our issues so that we can prepare for the 7th term.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Chief Whip.
No, I'm just observing the functionality of the mics that side and the non-functionality this side. Honorable Panga did categorize this side as Amahlati and that side as whatever. A better side anyway. Thank you very much, Chair. You know, the unfair part is or let me rather say, greetings to you and all members in the meeting or workshop. Or one thing I just want to indicate how I wish we could have, because you know the interest of members would always be on their accommodation, rather the planning or the timing or the arrangement of this was rather not spot on, because now the presentation speaks of the houses. It does not then spare public works a special moment in the presentation that has been done by the Deputy Speaker. He spoke about the houses. Now we are directed to park those questions until Public Works comes. I wish Public Works could have been here. We lump everything together, then we just engage. Unfortunately, that has not been done. Let me then get to just one or two things I wanted to speak about, excluding that one. Or maybe I should ask it. Yeah, because it will then speak to what was spoken, presented here, not by Public Works, by the Deputy Speaker. My issue was on when there's a breakage, a break-in your house, it says the state is not liable. You see? Now I wanted to know what is the basis for the state not to be liable, yet that house is a state property and it is the state then that has to provide security. Not unless in whatever dotted line there's something that says we have as members a duty to provide our own security in those houses we are allocated. So I wanted just to get that. The second part, I am not sure if the document, this booklet or the presentation just speaks of what ordinarily should have been the case, or it speaks to issues that are there practically. For instance, it spoke of the dining hall facilities that are there. And yet there's no more that service there, which when we came in 2019, there used to be that dining hall facility services. Now, my issue, just to check, is it just speaking on what is ought to be there ordinarily, or something that is really taking place? My last point is on the national key point. I agree. At some point we called Ngobese here. And Ngobese exposed us as honorable members. And I was so, embarrassed that we are lawmakers, we do this, all of a sudden we go ask them, why do they search us at the gate? Yet it is the law that has been passed, done by us here. Now they are simply implementing our laws. When I left then the meeting on that day, I was embarrassed to come and query my decisions to an officer. The issue, Chair, is just the manner we get treatment at the gate. We know we're getting to a national key point. However, the institution, I just want to suggest this one, Dung, so that even when the 7th administration comes, at least there's a smooth and that dignified way of treatment at the gate. I know we will throw tantrums there when the police wants us to get out of the car, open your boot so that they can search. If we can have a secretary, a permanent security agent from the ones that we have in the institution, the Maninas and the likes, who stays there with those police so that as and when members get through the gate, that security is there. I don't have to get out of my vehicle, yet I'm an honorable member here, and I get to be subjected to that police undermining at times. You see, that's just my thing, so as to maintain the what is this thing I spoke about earlier, the national key point element in the institutions. I wanted just to suggest that one, so that at least all of us, because when the speaker, the deputy speaker, the MECs, they just get in through that side, and I have to get out of my car, and yet we are all elected here as members of the provincial legislature. It then sends a not so palatable a message. So thank you very much, Chair. That's just what I wanted to inquire.
Honorable Makuban.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, bensakhangela notes zam. Let me refer you, Honorable Chair, to a matter of the official houses, that is relating it to the exit of members. If ndisakhumbula ke Chair, I'm subject to corrections. Kwakune request that was made to us as members that must submit inputs to review as our policies. Simane silandelelwa singxoliswa na office ka Chief Whip that must submit. And we did that, Chair. But in Bona Apa Chair, kule handbook, isathi Chair, a non-returning member must vacate an official house within 1 calendar month from the date that the non-returning member ceases to be a member of the legislature. And yet, if undikhumbula kakuhle kwi-proposals ezazenziwe pha, the duration of 3 months was accepted. I don't know, Chair, as to ziphi eza inputs zazenziwe ukulungisa le policy. Ngoba siyazi ngolo hlobo thina. So that if uke sasizifake nje azina meaning, azina ntoni sixelelwe. Mna ndiseneza records, Chair, even neza inputs zazenziwe by the members. So this one infonywa yintoni? And what was the use of us into bakuthiwe masenze that process yokureview le policy? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, honorable members. My understanding, this is a draft, and the purpose of us in this session is to engage on this draft and input on this draft, so that using the experiences we had as members and correct it for the better to prepare for the 7th term. That's my understanding of this session. So it's good to interrogate this document or this draft booklet, so that at the end of the day, sikwazi uba booklet that talks to what will happen at the land. Umntu ngabethe ngokubethetha apha kufuneke kuthiwe kwakukho abantu ababekhona apha, ungafiki kulantu ka kukhona isiphithiphithi. The view from the chair is that the presentation by Public Works is around the issues of accommodation and ideal situation. And we are going to raise what we experience, Tina, so that we can correct that mishaps for the benefit of those that are coming after us. Hence, I'm saying we must pack, and I will plead again, even to Honorable Koboshiane, not to respond on issues of accommodation, because we are going to do a repetition if even after Public Works, after talking about issues of accommodation, we are going to raise questions. So, in a package, we must wait for, I am pleading with you, honorable members. Those are the questions and comments, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I'm calling you as a present. Bengena ikokela ke lantu yaphandle uba ingaki intenzelele ngxaki. Honorable Ndabeni.
I masixolise Honorable Chair. Besilapha xa sixelela ubana imigodlo yethu pha phandle singake simane siyoyichekisha pha. Sorry Mama Mslanda. Besawuchekisha imigodlo yethu pha phandle. Chair, I think let's appreciate the presentations that were made to the meeting. I want to stress what Honorable Makubele said. Kulendo ye property ye members. I know that Public Works is still going to make the presentations. Yabona ke kulendo ye visit. Yafuneka ke kwenza benchmark. Benchmarking about accommodation of MPLs of other provinces. I've made my own, not a start, just a PME assessment on how MPLs as a Gauteng as a province are accommodated. The type and the security of their official residence versus what we have in the province. So, iyafuneka ke la comparison study and benchmarking to improve the facilities of members. Over and above lendo ye 1 month exiting at yagxothwa kuthiwa phuma. I think that needs to be reviewed. But esbini, a point that I find it that the legislature is not taking seriously is when a member of this house passed on. I don't think the decorum and the respect that we give to a living member, we do the same when the members passed on. Leave the benefits of the family, the things. I'm talking about the institutional decorum. I don't think we do that. Now, it's a matter that we must discuss because part of the advantage of the legislature is that we make our own rules. That's what the Constitution gives us. And when I say so, I'm not saying that we need a state funeral when a member passes on. But an institutional decorum. What is the procession that the institution does when a member of this house has passed on? What is the guide? You see? And what respect, other than a respect we know from the political organizations we come from? When its member has passed on, and does all the salutations that they do. But institutionally, what do we do? 30 years into democracy, what do we do? Do we have a guide to say, as the legislature, these are the procedures we follow? Yabona besiyongcwaba omnye family member yam who happens to be a junior police official. And the decorum that police gives to when its member, the member of the police service, has passed on, is a serious decorum that is even above than a member of a provincial legislature. So, in my view, Honorable Chair, these are the things that, learning from the experiences of the past, we need to improve this handbook, which I really commend. So that there must be institutional procedures other than a mere visit and all that. Ndiyayazi ke into yoba kule period akhona amalungu esiye sawaluza, but it was during time of COVID. So there were issues of regulations and all that. But I'm just talking about general. And I think if we were to be asked to formulate some proposals, I guess the Deputy Speaker said it, we can make those concrete proposals about what are the procedures that we think can be given and what status we think that can be submitted to a member that has passed on. So these are the things that I think from this handbook are missing. My last comment. Ilento pension. Ihleli pha kwa Alexandra Forbes ngoku. Now, institutionally, do we have a person other than Alexandra Forbes? Because Alexandra Forbes is a first service provider. They've got their own interest of business at heart. Dithetha apha ekhaya, apha legislature. Do we have a dedicated team? Because izinto zepension, they go with benefits. They go with interest rates. They go with all the things that goes with it. Do we have a person inside the institution who checks in the market? Indoba, class in a group pension, ekwa Alexandra Forbes ngoku, and I'm not decampaigning Alexandra Forbes, they've been doing better. If we're to take the same Sise kwa Sanlam, what benefits are we going to have? If we're to take it the same Sise what Discovery, what benefits do we have? So that you are not stuck with one company as if you are obliged. You look into indlela ekhula ngayo la pension in an institution versus another, because a pension is supposed to grow. You see, other than what we contribute as members and what the institution contributes as part of the institutional contribution, what percentage of growth? And if someone who checks the markets and say, no, this time around, we think that we can move a pension group here to this institution, maybe for a period of 5 years because of this. Singabi ko stuck with one institution. If asinaye umntokoba as a market rates, umntokoba how the markets behave, how institutions changes their policies, sizawuhlala kula institution A1, even if is not of our benefit. I'm saying if technical asinaye lo muntu, these are the services you can source with specialists.